Welcome back. This comes up very quickly, doesn't it? So, today is our Talent Sunday, following on from when some envelopes were distributed and people were invited to take an envelope and go away and multiply, just as the parable of the talents suggested. And the parable is fairly well agreed upon by biblical scholars to be one of the real teachings of Jesus. And it's very well known. There's a very wealthy landowner who distributes talents to his servants. And it says that they're given according to their abilities. One gets 5, one gets 2, and the other one gets 1. One commentator, who was obviously not Unity, says that this proves that we aren't all born equal, that some get it better than others. But, as you can imagine, Charles Fillmore says that's just not the case, that it's according to our faith that we access our talents. Metaphysically, talent means all the spiritual gifts: life, love, truth, substance, intelligence, faith, power, judgment, and will. A talent in biblical times was Roman currency, and opinions vary on this. I looked it up, but mostly people agree it was equal to about 15 years of a labourer's salary. So I think it's pretty good that those blokes didn't abscond with the money. And it's amazing that the word talent has come into our language from this parable, meaning our abilities. The 2 servants given the 5 and 2 talents doubled their share by investing it. The servant given only 1 talent buried his in the earth. And on return home of the master was so furious with him that he kicked him out. Earth symbolises the material plane, so we're warned about fearfully burying our talents in the realm of the senses. And here's Charles Fillmore. If we think that the material side of life is the safe side, like this man who was working for safety first, we bury our talents by using them in the earth. And so we fall short. We don't realise that 95% of our resources come from spirit. If the 1 talent man had used his talent like the others, he would have been told, "You've been faithful over a few things. I will set you over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord." Entering into the joy of the Lord is a consciousness of having done one's best. There's a similar parable that Charles Fillmore tells from the East, which isn't surprising. All these stories are archetypal, aren't they? And so there's a farmer who's going away, and he has 2 bushels of corn from his crop, and he gives them to his neighbours. The first neighbour puts his in the granary, and it goes mouldy. When the fellow comes back, it's mould. The second one planted a crop, and the crop flourished. So when it was harvested, the original fellow with the crop took only his original bushel, and the other fellow got the bounty of the harvest. So the moral of the stories is that the universe gives to us, but if we don't make much of what we're given, we won't get much out of it, out of life. And here's Charles again. The 1 talent man is the one who needs the most encouragement in the human family, because he settles down with the thought, I haven't got any special abilities. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and the best I can do is just to peg along in the ordinary way. That man is digging in the earth and burying his talent, and he's not going to get anywhere. But if that man would begin to think about being a spiritual being, and that everything he has is founded in spirit, he could increase and multiply and bring about in his own environment an even better condition for somebody else. He could sow in his mind and reap. I say that man could go somewhere. When Joan of Arc told the people of France that God had spoken to her, they just said, "That's just your imagination." And this amazing 17-year-old said, "Yes, how else can God talk to us except through our minds?" So money is inert without us and the power of our minds. Riches and fulfilment in life, therefore, depend on what we do with what we have. Doesn't matter what money or talents we have, it's use that determines whether we are rich and purposeful, and the truly rich reach out to the world. The servants in the parable didn't get financial rewards. That's really interesting. Their reward came from making their master happy. When we give of our time and talents and money, we don't experience loss. We give an invitation to Spirit to bless us with greater awareness of itself. True abundance comes from moving beyond fear and serving in order to create happiness for others. Happiness is then our reward, just as it was for the servants. And so some of our dear servants are going to share with us, and if you've still got money, the bowl is there, but would somebody like to start with what they did to multiply the talents? Perhaps I can start, because I was the first one, and we did this on Palm Sunday, and it was so easy for me because some of us went to the service at Swedenborg on Good Friday, and it was really very cinchy for me to be hospitable and say, "Come back and I'll charge you $5 for a cup of coffee and a hot cross bun after the service." And so that was my multiplication of it. And what I got out of that was, I have to say, I congratulated myself and thought, how cinchy was that? I didn't have to toil and spin over what I might do. It was a very easy one. But would somebody like to start the ball rolling in what they have done? That's why you're sitting like this, by the way, so that we can share. Bev, I know you don't want to speak. Will I speak for you? Or would you?
Everyone knows what I did. Come on.
We'd love you to say it.
Come on, you can do it.
I raffled at one of my paintings.
Oh, well done.
That's amazing.
And made $190.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that you were very, very pleased that you got back, because you were glowing when you handed that envelope over. Is that right?
Yes, I was pleased with it.
And there's a beautiful story also about the dentist. Bev went and had a tooth filled, and they didn't charge you. And she gave back to how unexpected is that, not to be charged to have a filling?
Give us the name of your
So they didn't charge Bev, so she put some raffle tickets in for the dentist. So she gave back to him, accepting he didn't win the painting.
And wasn't one of your requests, what did we learn from doing it?
Yeah, and I think I put words in Bev's mouth. I think I said you got back, but yeah, what did
No,
you?
I think what you give out, you do get back.
Yeah.
In other ways.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, John.
I have a confession to make. Some of you may know that I've been embarking on an independence, a financial independence journey for a number of years. Started off in training and my background is accounting, chartered accounting and dealing with companies and whatever, so I was based on a fundamental understanding of how the world worked. I quickly proved by losing a lot of money that that doesn't work and that there's got to be something else. And I went through a whole period of time trying to understand, was there any possible cause to how the share market was reacting? And somehow, lo and behold, in my life, and part of this journey is through unity, and it's learning about spirit, and it's learning about energies and cycles and life cycles, and even the Bible. Why on earth I look at the Bible, and it's just stories about cycles, and it's about my cycle because I see myself in it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I found I stumbled across a successful guy in America in the early 1920s, 1930s, and he, in the Depression, turned a small amount of money into $50 or $60 million.
Wow.
He ended up employing, I think it was Amelia Earhart as his personal pilot, all these other things, but his background was the Bible and spiritual energy through astrology. And so it's turned around after many years, and I'm starting to see the connection between astrological cycles and the energy that it impacts on us as individuals, and how that relates to what people react in the share market. So my confession is that I've been challenged, and I'm the servant that has buried the talent. And what I've seen in this is that the connection, and I really thank Leslie for this, because what it's brought out in me is an understanding that the money comes, or whatever you want, but the money comes to enable you to barter or to do what you want to do, create your dreams in your life through using your talent. I don't see talent and money as being the same thing. I see that money is a barometer or a byproduct of the utilisation of that energy. So the money that I got for that is that only last week I put that with my trading money, and it costs, say, $10,000 for one contract in what I'm doing. So $20 to $10,000, I thought, oh gee, that's not going to be enough. You know, I've got to earn quite a bit of money to actually double the money. So I didn't do it. But then over this period of time, and probably through Graham Johnson in his creation story of Genesis, I've got to the stage of doing it anyway, getting over the fear and actually looking at creation and understanding what thoughts have been going into my mind that have been preventing me from doing the stuff. And I'm now choosing to eat from the right tree, the fruit from the right tree, and the positive thinking, and looking at all my focus is now on what can be created. So it might take a while to get it back to you. But
Isn't that just fabulous? That is so inspirational. Thank you. And that's a point I think maybe I should have stressed more, that we do increase by using our talents. Do you want to have a go, Jeanette? Jim?
Looks like the doctor was the next person. As soon as you handed out the envelopes, I had this concept that I can go and buy some fruit and make some jam and sell that. And I had it sitting at home for weeks.
The money.
The money for weeks.
Not the fruit going mouldy.
Money was sitting at home for weeks, and I couldn't get myself to go and buy it. And I looked out the kitchen window, and I thought, the universe has provided the fruit. I've got a lemon tree up there. My lemon trees, I made that up at the marmalade. I spent a whole $3 of the 20 on sugar. So if I'd had enough fruit on the tree and enough energy to make that much jam, I could have made 7 times as much jam.
Wow.
The 13 jars I sold a total of, including the return of the money that I didn't spend, was $85.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Yeah. Are you happy to share, Jenna?
Oh, yes, well, I took it not knowing what I was going to do, but I also have another project. I've been a knitter since I was about 6 or 8 or something, and I have 2 knitting machines at home that I've knitted with over the years, but I have got a mountain of yarn, everything from the very finest to much more fancy, and I thought, well, I'll do some knitting. So I knitted some shawls. So the first one I gave away, and I thought, well, I'll have to pay for that. So that was my first one. I gave it to a friend. And somebody else bought one. I keep bringing them. They're still for sale. But what I realised was, I came back with $80, so that wasn't but what I realised was I have a great resource there as I work with it. And my daughter says she knows a lady with a gifty shop, so we're going to go and see her, and perhaps she might take them from me and sell them on. So it's still a process ongoing from that. So thank you for
well done. Yeah, well
opening
done.
my eyes to something, because I was just knitting and giving it away to the orphans, which I will still do, but that's where I saw it going. But maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, thank you. And Brett has brought his talent back, and he used his not inconsiderable talent in running computer classes. So he's given the money from one of his classes. And Jim had a very different take on it, being an original thinker.
Well, I'm an original thinker, but I did think a bit, and I thought about what talents I have. What I've been most successful doing in life is managing welfare services of various kinds. And I thought, well, I can't really start up with welfare service of any kind on $20, so to think again. And I thought, well, one of the things I've inherited is a Scottish heritage that makes me fairly thrifty and careful with money. So I thought the various supermarkets doing a lot of price cutting and slashing things to half price and things like that. So I went around to IGA in Mount Waverley and Woolworths in Mount Waverley and Coles in Mount Waverley and bought up cleaning products at half price. So I've got $42 worth of cleaning products for $20, and I've added them to the donations that Unity makes to the refugees. So the refugees get the benefit. I get the benefit of knowing the refugees will be a little bit cleaner than they were otherwise. And that was my effort.
Yeah, thank you.
My sister and I took the 2 big baskets full, one with food and the other with cleaning products, in last week, and they were so appreciative of the help. And there were a couple of people that they support in the kitchen who unpacked them all, so they were very well received. So we've returned to fill the baskets again.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Jill.
No, it was great. So thanks, Jim. And really, the baskets were overflowing.
That's abundance for you.
And do you want to share, Jill, with what?
Oh, well, I first of all am staying with my sister and brother-in-law, and I've been there for nearly 16 weeks. My brother listens to the races on it. Brother-in-law listens to the races. I thought, right, I'm going to put mine on a horse. I was looking for the easy way out, and I was darn well earned the hard way out through it. And of course the horse didn't even run a place, so I had to start again. My husband was Sri Lankan, he's deceased, but I'm cooking a Sri Lankan meal for my brother and sister-in-law and their neighbours on Wednesday night. But my money's yet to come, but they've offered to pay $40 a head for the meal.
Isn't that wonderful? And you could go away and give them fish and chips now, couldn't you? Because they promised to. No, that's true.
Curry fish and chips.
I think you wanted to say something, Ron.
You know, as I'm listening to everyone else share, I'm thinking that the verse that kept coming to me is, for all, we know that all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to His purpose. Well, last Monday I got a notification that my hostess for this trip was backing out on me. And I made a video saying I'm in the need of having to rent hotel spaces. And, you know, yesterday after I made that video, when I made the next video saying I had 12 donations. Now, I didn't add them all up, but 3 of them were $100 or more.
Wow.
And then after I recorded the video, another donation came in, so one more. And then just as I was leaving today, I noticed at least 2, maybe 3 more donations, but I didn't open the emails on them yet. So I don't know how much it is, but the return was unexpected and very much needed. So it was multiplied back to me to cover the additional expenses of having my hostess bail on me. So all things do work together for good.
And what a great example of using the power of the mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that nobody else wants to? Yeah. So sometimes we may feel as though we've absolutely nothing to give, but I'm just going to do a bit of quoting from Robin Mayers. A few of us, Jim and Jeanette and Beverly and I and Jim, went to Robin Mayers on Friday and Saturday, and we were just totally blown away. But he, in his last speech, stressed the science of quantum physics, how every single action is consequential because the universe is a vast and tangled web. And he had some fabulous slides to show this on the quantum level. And his word for God is, the word they use at his church in Mayflower in Kansas? Oklahoma. It is luminous web. It's a bit long, but yeah. And so there is no separation. There's only oneness. Every action matters. Each of us is a personal universe of possibility. So all of you who've given your time in this project have had an effect on all of us. You've helped to support our beloved community, and that's another one of his lovely words from the original Christian fellowship. He stressed the fact that the early church was a beloved community, first and foremost. It may be in the smallest of everyday exchanges that we're not even aware of that we make a difference. And he used the example of, it's a very American example, but a fellow helping out in the supermarket, and Robin Mayers said, "Thank you, sir," which is...
That was a black man.
Yeah, and an African American, yeah. So, just that simple gesture of love and support to that person. And I think we really can never know what that sort of kindness what effect it can have on somebody. And as an example of that from my life, I think of my Auntie Jean, who was a totally unique person. And Sheila and I share birthdays at the beginning of January. And I don't know if you had it happen, Sheila, but you sort of get a bit overlooked with Christmas and everything else. And I certainly had that. And I have never forgotten my Auntie Jean, who, by the way, used to cut her hair truly by putting a pudding basin over it and slipping around. And she went back to school at about 60 and did year 12 and used to bake scones for her fellow year 12 students. She was very famous in Williamstown for all of those idiosyncrasies. But she had a fabulous talent. She was a very good singer and she played the piano, and she played the piano all around the place. But I don't remember her for that. I remember her as a 9-year-old, my birthday, stinking hot day in January, and she trooped all the way across Williamstown, one side to the other, to bring me a box of Winning Post chocolates. And I have never forgotten that. A 9-year-old with her very own box of Winning Post chocolates, and they're all special shapes and all of that. So, you know, I have carried that in my heart. You know, and she wouldn't even remember that she'd done it. So, and sometimes we may feel as though we've got absolutely nothing to give, but the right use of divine mind can bring unexpected treasure. And I've got this amazing story that was published in the American journal Guideposts in 1985 that told of a young woman called Barbara Gominski. She was diagnosed with MS in 1970. She became totally bedridden and completely reliant on others for care. Have you heard this story? So one day in despair, she cried out to God saying, "I can't even read, but I need something to do." And the answer came. She was told that prayer is action and to pray for others. And so she did. And at first she actually got worse. She became blind, technically blind, and she needed a tracheotomy because her lung had collapsed. But she continued to pray. And over time, unexpectedly, she actually began to get better. And after 3 years, she heard the words, "Get out of bed." And she'd had her hands all twisted and her feet all twisted. And she actually had the faith, the trust to get out. And she found she could stand. And that was, she could stand for the first time in years. And later, tests verified that she had cured her MS. She healed spiritually, obviously, long before the physical healing. She joined with others and she gave the gift of her compassion. And so she unleashed an amazing healing energy in her own body. She didn't bury her seemingly so meagre talent. In going over this talk, I was amazed at how the parable of the talents supports Unity's 5 principles. It just felt to me like they sum it up. Whatever we do, it works best for us and others in our lives if we do it with love. We are then one with the presence and power of Spirit that expresses itself throughout the luminous web of the universe. And that's Unity's first principle. The second principle, we all have the spirit of the divine within us. Quantum physics tells us that there's no separation, we're all one. Therefore, we can tap into guidance and are always worthy to receive. Third principle, we are co-creators with Spirit through the action of our thinking. What we hold in mind does indeed create after its kind. The fourth principle, we align ourselves with the divine mind through prayer and meditation, just as Joan of Arc and the mystics have always told us. The fifth principle reminds us that it isn't enough to have head knowledge of these truths. We move them to our heart and then we put them into action. We walk our talk. We are love in action. One of the important truths that I came away with yesterday, and there were so many, was that the value of the beloved community. All the online stuff supports us, it feeds us, but it doesn't provide that heart connection that we have here. So whatever we do is here making a difference in the microcosm, is having a difference in the macrocosm, and therefore in our planet. What we do, we expand. Another was the emphasis of the early followers of the way on service with love. They were radical in their commitment to these ideals, and maybe we can have further conversations about this. It would be another lovely thing for us to share. So I've got this really, what I thought was a fabulous quote from Teilhard de Chardin to finish. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love, and then for a second time, man will have discovered fire. Thank you.
Would you thank Leslie once again? We look forward to your next talk, Leslie.
That's fine.